Morant with a running start. Elevate! Oh, it dunks! Oh, my goodness!
Tie game in overtime. Gasol will turn his heat. It's gone! Memphis on top. 7-10 remaining. Conley now with three. Counted! A 15-point lead for Memphis. And Blake Griffin gets into it on the floor with Randolph. Hard to tell if there are any punches being thrown under there, but Griffin took acceptance.
Adams going long. Morant! Oh, he hit it! Ja Morant, insanity!
You gotta be kidding me.
Welcome to Grits and Grinds, a Memphis Grizzlies podcast. My name is Keith Parrish. The Grizzlies, for the second time in a few weeks, lost to the San Antonio Spurs. This game on Tuesday night was essentially a rerun of the first game back on November 18th. Harrison Barnes seemed to be the best player on the court. De'Aaron Fox led a late Spurs charge that put away the Grizzlies. Jaren Jackson Jr. was badly outplayed and struggled in the fourth quarter. He struggled the whole game this time, and the Grizzlies finish up their road trip with a loss to the Spurs. However, the road trip overall was a gigantic success as they went 3-1, and Zach Edey continued his breakout and his outstanding play. So on today's episode, I'm going to talk about the road trip. I'm going to talk about this game against the Spurs. I'm a day late. Had to do a colonoscopy on Wednesday, but had another 24 hours to think about this game and the play of the team so far. So we'll get into it right after I remind you that there's a watch party in Nashville on Friday. This is tomorrow as I record this on Thursday morning. Friday, December 5th at Nobles East. We will be watching the Grizzlies and Clippers showdown. Game is at 7 o'clock. I will be there giving away a bunch of Grizzlies prizes, so come hang out with me and other Grizzlies fans in the area at Nobles East. Also, reminder, if you want to support the creation of this show, if you want to get a discount on joining Patreon, I'm running a cyber sale through the weekend. Thanks to Will Latham for signing up and using that promo code EDIE. He went to patreon.com/fastbreakbreakfast and got 32% off an annual membership with promo code EDIE, EDEY. If you want to join the listener Slack like Will did, if you want to get the bonus episode I released on Sunday, all of that, patreon.com/fastbreakbreakfast. And for a limited time, you can get 32% off an annual membership with promo code EDIE. That's just a few bucks a month to support the creation of, I would say, the most in-depth Grizzlies podcast out there. All right. This Spurs game, like I said, was a total repeat. It was a strange game in the sense that the Grizzlies had a really good offensive performance. They shot 50% for the game and lost. And it boiled down to Jaren, I think, really struggling. Also, Cedric Coward didn't have the best game. It highlighted these substitution patterns we've been talking about in the previous 3 straight road wins. And in the past 5-6 games, this has been the same pattern where midway through the fourth quarter, Zach Edey, Jaren Jackson Jr., Cedric Coward usually all sub out at about the same time. In this game, it was at exactly the same time. The Grizzlies had just built a 7-point lead behind 5 consecutive points from Cam Spencer, who had a real nice game. They had a shooting foul. Zach Edey committed a shooting foul. So it wasn't necessarily a 9-0 run all on the backups because Edey committed that foul. Keldon Johnson makes 1 out of 2. But with Edey and Jaren and Cedric Coward on the bench, the Spurs went on a run against the backups. And I said these were always nervy minutes, even in the games that the Grizzlies won. In this one, it felt like maybe the difference in the game. Of course, the Grizzlies still had a chance to come back and dominate in the clutch like they had against the Pelicans and against the Clippers, but they could not compete with what Harrison Barnes did. 31 points, a season high for Harrison Barnes. And then De'Aaron Fox down the stretch just scored over and over and over. And the Grizzlies shot 7 for 24 as a team in that fourth quarter. Jaren was just 1 for 6 from the field in the fourth quarter. If you remember, in the previous loss to the Spurs, he was 0 for 6 in the fourth quarter. So that's now 2 straight road games against the Spurs where Jaren is a combined 1 for 12 in the fourth quarters. Zach Edey was 1 for 3. You could object to the number of field goal attempts he was getting. I think the Spurs did a pretty good job of taking Zach away later in the game. But Edey in that first game was 0 for 3 from the field in the fourth quarter. So that's a combined, 2 for 18 for Edey and Jaren in the last 2 fourth quarters against the Spurs. But again, I don't want to dwell too much on this defeat in the sense that the road trip was such a highly successful thing. Now you can, of course, continue to point out that the Grizzlies beat bad teams and lose to good teams. And this is a pattern that began last year, back when Taylor Jenkins was coach. Tomas Isalo has still only beaten one team that had a winning record at the time of the game. That was last year against the Pistons. The Grizzlies right now, 1-13 against teams that have a winning record, that currently have a winning record. You could also say 1-13 against the top 20 teams based on point differential. They are 8-0 against teams that have a losing record or in the bottom 10 of point differential. The good news is the Grizzlies now return home. That Clippers game on Friday, that's the watch party in Nashville. The Clippers, and then after that, you get the Blazers and the Jazz, and then you go on the road to the Clippers. So that's 4 straight games against sub-500 teams. Hopefully, the Grizzlies can take care of business in those games. If they do, I'm guessing it's largely because Zach Edey is going to continue to be dominant. Despite the loss, Zach Edey continued his second-year breakout. He had 19 points and 15 rebounds. Just a monster game, once again, from Zach Edey. In the first half, specifically the second quarter, he was just getting to his spot over and over and over and finishing with confidence, kept making jump hooks, was getting really low position or deep position, scoring with his left hand. So he now has 19 or more points in 3 of his last 4 games. He only had 19 points or more in a game 3 times all of last season. He has 4 straight games with at least 15 rebounds. He is now the 4th player in franchise history to have 4 straight games with at least 15 rebounds. This here is an easy trivia question. If I said to name the other 3 players in Grizzlies franchise history to have 4 straight games with 15 or more rebounds, it's Zach Randolph, Steven Adams, and Jonas Valanciunas. The longest streak in franchise history, Jonas Valanciunas had a 5-game streak or 15 or more rebounds. Zach can try to tie that on Friday night. But during the 4-game road trip where the Grizzlies went 3-1, Zach Edey averaged 19.3 points per game and 16.5 rebounds per game. And oh, by the way, got 2.8 blocks per game. That exceeds my wildest dreams. Big picture, regardless of opponent, if your second-year center is going for 19 and 17 with 3 blocks, that's amazing. The improvements he's making this year, the better play, I do think it's extremely interesting to divvy up the credit or the explanations for what is happening. I think absolutely the scheme being different this year is benefiting Zach Edey. You are seeing lots of post-ups. You are seeing his teammates constantly looking for him. I mean, Vince Williams Jr. keeps racking up assists. Jaren is getting assists. Santi Aldama, the few times he gets to play with him, he knows where to throw the ball. The entire team is looking for Zach in the paint. Zach is spending very little of his time out on the perimeter. He's taking almost no 3-pointers. He took some 3-pointers last year, but he is not standing on the perimeter at all. He's running to the block. He is doing screen and rolls with the ball handler. He is repositioning whenever he can to get deep post position. So scheme is a big part of it. Some of those finishing numbers, where last year he was missing jump hooks This year, he's making all of them. Maybe there is a difference in how deep he seems to be getting. If you look at the shooting data, which does not narrow it down maybe as much as we would like, but last year from 3 to 10 feet away from the basket, which is most of his little jump shots or hook shots, last year again, he made 41% of them. So far this year, it's only 9 games, he's making 68% of his field goal attempts from 3 to 10 feet from the basket. So maybe it is the scheme and getting him the ball in the exact right spots where last year it felt like it wasn't the right spots. To me, to my eye, to my memory, it's just notably different. One, how he's scoring going both directions. He's turning left and right. That seemed like an issue last year. He's catching all the passes coming to him. I just think also a lot of it is just the natural year 2 development, the improvements. So some of it is the scheme, some of it the coach that's included in the scheme. A lot of it, I think, is just maybe year 1 to year 2 improvements. I think a lot of it could be health. Maybe he just never felt totally healthy last year. He started the year with those ankle issues. Of course, he started this year not healthy, but since coming back, he looks spry, quick for his size even, and he is continuing to play really, really well. So Zach has been absolutely a huge bright spot for the team so far. Now, when we talk about the way the scheme has benefited Zach Edey, I think it's worthy to mention or to question or to wonder, is the scheme harming Jaren Jackson Jr.? I feel like lost in all the talks about what the Grizzlies were running last year with the Noah LaRoche system, with Taylor Jenkins' offense. It feels sort of lost that, yes, Ja Morant didn't like it, but of course, Jaren was dominating in that system last year, and the Grizzlies were winning. Yes, they were usually only beating bad teams, but they were beating all of the bad teams. They had a good record. So now this new scheme seems to benefit Zach Edey. It's not benefiting Jaren that much. Jaren only got 2 field goal attempts in the first half of this game. He had 5 turnovers in the first half, also 4 personal fouls. As someone who likes stats and numbers, I took a little bit of amusement in his first half stat line: 2 field goal attempts, 3 points, 4 fouls, and 5 turnovers. Now, a lot of those fouls were also turnovers because he keeps committing offensive fouls. So many offensive fouls for Jaren Jackson Jr. He's still second in the NBA behind Karl Anthony Towns in offensive fouls. So many of Jaren's fouls this year, and he's in year 8, I like to emphasize, are really dumb. Some of them you get like, okay, that was an unlucky move. Someone stepped in front of you to take the charge, or, oh, your elbow got a little high. Edey got this. He elbowed, I can't remember who, in the face. I think Luke Cornett. I mean, Luke Cornett, by the way, good game. He, I do think, started to slow down and frustrate Zach Edey a little bit. Edey pulled the string on a floater or a hook shot in the second half. Cornett blocked a couple of his shots. But going to Jaren, it's just a lack of composure, a lack of poise, and weird fouls. Fouls where he's not trying to block a shot. Those are fine. Those are good. Fouls when you're in the paint on defense, usually fine. He's committing offensive fouls. He's committing weird fouls on screeners. He's got to cut that out. And I do give credit. I want to continue to give credit to Tomas Isolo for letting Jaren play through foul trouble. Had those 4 fouls in the first half. Picked up his 5th foul in the third quarter. By the way, did Jaren foul out? No, he did not. He ended up playing a little over 26 minutes. Still could have played more, I guess. But I understand taking a guy out with 5 fouls in the third quarter. But Jaren struggled in this one badly, finished with 7 points. Did have 6 rebounds. I guess we credit him for that. 2 steals, 2 assists where he finds Edey, 5 turnovers. Jaren, while he did have a stretch of really nice games recently, this was another game where he didn't do enough. You could look at the team overall, and I'll get to the rest of the players, but like Zach Edey had a great game. Jaylen Wells had a awesome game. Continue the heater he's on. Cam Spencer, also another really good game. Vince Williams Jr. basically did everything you could ask of him. Jaren, unfortunately, let you down where you needed Jaren to be better. Also, I think Cedric Coward let you down. Let's get into those other guys who played, especially the great games from Jalen and Cam. We will do that right after this short break. Okay, the Grizzlies were led in scoring in this game, not by Zach Edey, not by Jaren Jackson Jr., but by Spencer and Jaylen Wells. Cam had 21. Jaylen had 20 points. Jaylen scored 20 points on 9 field goal attempts. In the last 5 games, Jaylen Wells is averaging 19 points per game. He's making 64% of his field goal attempts. That's 74% on 2-pointers and 58% on 3-pointers. That'll do, Jaylen. Just a tremendous run from Jaylen. This is by far the best scoring stretch of his entire career. With every upward swing for any player, I think you usually hope, hey, maybe this might last. Maybe this guy's making a leap. Maybe this guy's improving. I do think when it's a second-year player, you're more justified in some of that optimism that this could stick around a little bit. When the pendulum swings up for a young guy, it means hopefully a little bit more than it does for a veteran. But Jaylen played really, really well, and the scoring for him has been up, and it continued that way in this one with 20 points. And also the scoring for Spencer. I mean, it's hard to overstate how good he's been in the past 5-6 games. He scored 21 points, which is 2 off of his career high that he set last year. He had 6 assists, which was 1 short of his career high. He is now 6th in the NBA as of Thursday morning in 3-point percentage. Cam, in the last 6 games, of course, that's a cherry-picked arbitrary number of games going back, but his numbers are off the charts in these games. He's averaging, and this is just in about 22 minutes per game off the bench, he's averaging 16 points and 5 assists per game in his last 6, shooting over 60% on 3-pointers. He's 9th in the NBA in 3-pointers made per 100 possessions. Oh, by the way, he's 10th in the NBA in free throw percentage. He's shooting 90% from the line. He's 4th among all guards and wings in true shooting percentage. He trails A.J. Green, who's shooting an unreal number from the 3-point line. He's trailing A.J. Green, Austin Reeves, and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. If you include all the centers, he's 11th in the NBA in true shooting percentage. He's now had 6 straight games with double figures off the bench. Also, in those games, he's been passing the ball. 6 assists in this one. He's had at least 3 or more in all 6 of those games. Here's another very cherry-picked trivial stat. He joins Tyus Jones as the only 2 players in franchise history to have 6 straight games coming off the bench with at least 10 points and 3 assists. But again, in those 6 games, the average is nearly 16 points and nearly 5 assists per game. Cam's been a guy you can depend on, and he's been really locked in. Now, unfortunately, in these games where Jaylen and Cam have been making their 3-pointers, the flip side to that is Cedric Coward has not been making his 3-pointers. Cedric right now, I feel like in this game, you needed him to be better offensively, even defensively. You needed him to be better. He turned the ball over 3 times. He did not have any assists, but mainly he missed most of his field goal attempts, and he missed all of his 3-point attempts. He was 0 for 5 on threes. I think we can call this a full-blown 3-point shooting slump. In the same 6 games where Cam Spencer's been on fire, Cedric is just 2 for 23 on 3-point attempts. Back when I said his shooting was going to regress from his 50-40-90 splits, I didn't think it would maybe be this bad this quickly. He's already down to 34% on 3-pointers for the season. I do think we want him to level out, hopefully in the high 30s on 3-pointers, not low 30s. So I have no clue where the shooting numbers of Cedric Coward will balance out at the end of the year. But right now, they're on a big dip. And in this loss, you needed more from Cedric, who had 9 points, 3 rebounds, none on the offensive glass, no steals, no blocks, no assists. That's in about 29 minutes of playing time. Now, Vince Williams Jr., who continues to start at point guard, I think he bounced back nicely from that 0 for 8 game against the Kings. He did miss his first 4 shots, meaning he had at least 12 straight misses stretched out over 2 games. He did settle in after that, does a good job with Zach Edey. He benefits, of course, a lot from playing most of his possessions with Zach Edey. He's always navigating Zach's screens, finding spaces for layups and floaters. He finishes this game with 12 points, 7 assists, 7 rebounds. Also, 3 blocks and a steal, only 1 turnover. Can't ask for much more from him. Now, a couple of guys you can't ask for more. Santi Aldama and KCP, both of them just 1 for 5 from the field. KCP did not play that much because he was struggling. 1 for 5, also 4 turnovers. Come on, Kenny. 2 of those 4 turnovers were straight pick sixes that led directly to Spurs points. So a really bad game for KCP, who we kind of hoped was coming out of his shooting slide with some of his recent strong performances. Santi's a tough one to judge. Yes, you wish he would score more than 4 points in 24 minutes. He did pick up 5 assists again. He's been crushing it on his passing. This is now 6 straight games for Santi where he has at least 4 assists. That is the best streak of his career. His previous long streak was 3 straight games with 4 or more assists. This is something Kyle Anderson never did. Have 6 straight games that were with 4 or more assists. So he's been passing the ball really good. Also, no turnovers in this game for Santi. But the shooting numbers, scoring numbers not there, which isn't necessarily that big of a deal, especially when like Cam is on fire and he's picking up some of the slack in a game where John Conchar makes all of his field goal attempts, like Jock Landale scored. So Santi doesn't necessarily need to be the one scoring. He's played, I think, well, and he came off this long stretch, that career best 14-game stretch where he scored double digits in every one, but now 2 straight single-digit scoring games, and also they're losing his minutes badly. Now this, I think we need to be calm when we parse it out. He is not benefiting from this line change situation. The way that Zach Edey plays most of his minutes with Jaren and with Cedric Coward and with Vince Williams Jr., Santi is playing most of his minutes with this motley bench crew, and a lot of it has been pretty rocky. And you had the stretch in the fourth quarter where, again, he's out there with Omax Prosper. Because of the foul issues with Jaren and Zach, Omax was the 11th guy in the Spurs game. Played 7 minutes in the second half. They hoped he would provide that spark, a little bit of energy. It did work for a little bit until it didn't. But like Santi is playing so many of his minutes with Jock Landale and with Kentavious Caldwell-Pope and with Conchar and Cam Spencer. And obviously those numbers aren't going to look as good. Now, with that context, still, for a team to win 3 out of their last 4 games and for Santi to be a minus 54, plus minus, meaning they got outscored by 54 points with him on the court, plus minus can be bad. It can be misleading. I do think that is more misleading. I think most of this is just the situations that Santi has found himself in on the court. So I'm not super concerned, honestly, about Santi. I think getting more players back is obviously going to help them, but those plus minus numbers are far from ideal. As far as Conchar, it was a season high 13 points, 5 for 5 from the field. Jock Landale had 10 points, 6 rebounds, 4 of those on the offensive glass. He did miss a big layup that would have stopped that late run. He had a good alley-oop. I think it was from Santi. I can't remember. He had a nice lob to him, but he couldn't finish it, and that hurt a little bit. And, oh, by the way, Omax with 2 points and 3 rebounds in his 7 minutes. So the overall takeaway from the game, it's just Zach Edey keeps playing great. Jalen and Cam Spencer are playing really well. Hopefully both of those second-year leaps are legitimate. Those show vast improvement in their games. I think, while I don't think he's going to go for 16 and 5 in 20 minutes every night, Cam Spencer is proving he is a legitimate rotation guy, and he's been a huge boost for the Grizzlies. And again, coming up, they have those important games. These are the teams that are chasing you for the play-in against the Clippers and against the Blazers and the Jazz. You got to take care of business in these games. And once those games are over, hopefully Ja Morant comes back. And also, I guess we can finish with The Ja Morant conversations league-wide are growing. You have a interesting situation, and I know this is just what podcasters want to talk about. This drives traffic, unfortunately. But player movement is what people are interested in always when it comes to the NBA. You have Giannis talking about maybe wanting to move on from the Bucks. You have the Hawks, who are playing quite well without Trae Young. You have LaMelo Ball, another high-scoring guy, high-assist guy, but he doesn't like his situation with the Hornets, and maybe the Hornets don't like the situation with him. There's Ja Morant. So you have all these big contract, and maybe Giannis is in his own category. But Trae Young, Ja Morant, and LaMelo Ball, and I don't know what kind of appetite there is for other teams to maybe trade for those guys. The idea of the Grizzlies trading him, we've long said it doesn't seem like something the Grizzlies franchise would do because of Ja Morant's popularity, because of his impact on social media, because of jersey sales, ticket sales. I think the ticket sales thing has cooled off. Mainly, Grizzlies fans seem to want teams that win. And I don't know how strong that is. So I don't know the situation. I do think it comes down to what appetite do other teams have to try to get Ja Morant, and what are the Grizzlies' goals? It comes back again to the Grizzlies' goals. I am not one who looks at the Zach Edey explosion so far this year and you're like, oh, let's tear it down and build around Zach. As good as Zach Edey is right now and how good he's playing, I don't know if you're supposed to build around a center who maybe doesn't project to be a top 10 player in the NBA. Now, if he continues this Dwight Howard, Shaquille O'Neal statistical tear, and then you're like, oh, this is an all NBA level guy, maybe. But still, the Grizzlies have a still young Jaren Jackson Jr., even if he has been up and down this year. I don't know what kind of tear down, and there's no package, I think, out there that would be so appealing that you would say, we're going to try to tear down. I think they're just going to stay the course, probably see what Ja Morant has this year. Now, if Ja Morant becomes a malcontent, not saying he is one, but those can be the rumors and the murmurs around the team. If he doesn't like what's going on, I don't know. But again, if he doesn't play better, if he doesn't play and is on the court, there's no big offer out there for teams wanting Ja Morant. So I think it's kind of going to be status quo with Ja staying on the team. And we'll just continue to see what happens, and hopefully he comes back in like a week or so and rejoins this team, and they can stack some wins, and we'll see Ja Morant benefit from playing alongside Zach Edey in his year 2 breakout. Of course, we only got 6 minutes of those guys playing together this entire year so far, so that's something to look forward to. And with that, I think we can wrap it up. Reminder, if you want to join my Patreon, patreon.com/fastbreakbreakfast, you have until Sunday to sign up for 32% off the annual membership rate, just a few dollars a month. That's in honor of Zach Edey's 32-point game he had against the Kings. Use that promo code Edey over at patreon.com/fastbreakbreakfast. And hopefully I will see some of you people at Nobles East on Friday night for that Grizzlies-Clippers game. All right. Hope you guys have a great Thursday. I'll talk to you soon. Go Grizz.